Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I'm quite interested in covering a topic with a bit of detail here. So we've kind of got this whole no spend December thing coming up in a couple of days. Yeah, and I went back and I rewatched both Jgigs' videos actually, because one of the things I've been struggling with here is like, what are we trying to achieve? I come from a big corporate background. Yeah, before I did YouTube, I was a sales director for a big blue chip company. I had to write kind of like a 5-year plan for my team, which then goes into other people's 5-year plans, which basically all sync into the board's plan. And the board's plan will be very, very top line about pulling certain levers. So it might be, we want to grow our profit line by this. It might be, actually, we want to grow our customer base by X. You know, we want to get into these new areas, whatever it is. Like they will have 3 or 4 real kind of like top level directional plans and then some real specific financial goals. Okay. So I'm looking at this kind of like no spend December thing. And I'm like, what do we want? How do we know if we won? What's the kind of aim here? And I did go back over Jgigs' videos in detail. So I was like, what are we asking for? And I don't think it's very clear. I already see some comments which honestly for me are silly. Yeah, it's like, oh, we've got new content dropping, that's got to be a result of these videos. No, that's been planned for like the last 4 months. Come on. Stuff like, oh, the Cyber Monday 2 times primal thing, that's got to be a result of this. But let's be clear, nothing's changed yet. There will be no actions yet. Okay, so let's not try and like gloss up what we think we're already doing. So far, nothing's changed. Okay, so I think it's important to say, well, what do we actually want? And what I'm going to do is go through a really good post actually from a comment that someone left on one of my videos and kind of like go through some of those points. But I also want to go through in some detail the Aristocrat November investor document, okay? Because that's important to understand where we are right now. No, I don't want to offer. Thank you very much. So yeah, in Jgigs' video, basically saying the game's in a bad state, missing its potential. I kind of have to, do I agree the game's in a bad state? I agree the game felt a bit stale, yeah, for me personally. But I'd imagine if you're a new player coming in, there's still tons to do, right? This is the whole long-term player versus short-term player type of vibe. I think it's in a bad state in terms of like greed levels. So I definitely would agree on that. I think that I definitely agree with Jgigs that this pass is unimaginative, boring, could have been so much better. I've done videos about that. Interestingly, though, with 9 weeks to go, I didn't know how hard it would be to get the Sacred. I've played it just not even really focused on challenges, right? I've played it very casually and easily got the Sacred. So this wasn't hard to do, which for so long left, I guess is a good thing. But yeah, but the pass itself is totally unimaginative. And interestingly, I bought a pack for the same sort of price as this on Watcher of Realms, and it gave me a random legendary from a group, and I felt like it was a good deal. And I think it's because I still had that thrill of not knowing what champion I was going to get. So interestingly, that you can look at one pack that's basically the same price in one game and view it differently from others. And I think the reason why I view this one poorly is history, not necessarily the value against it. It's history of the previous battle pass. It's history of the very recent revival pass, where you just got a lot more interesting stuff and more choices and stuff like that. So I think that's why this one has sat badly with me. Not really the money side of it, albeit it would have been way more accessible for lots if it was like 20 to 25, right? We said that already. Jgigs goes on to say he wants the game to get better. He wants stuff to be excited about. He still has fun playing it free to play, which is a bit of a counter argument. But anyway, he doesn't want creator hate. Unfortunately, Jgigs, the opposite occurs, right? Whenever you kind of do this big call out, then you kind of wind up the hornet's nest, and the people that just want to hate are going to hate, which is unfortunate, honestly, because it kind of, for me, it devalues the movement. I've got so many comments recently. Oh, you're spineless. You're a shill. I don't know. I don't even know what we're trying to achieve. Like, I don't know what I'm signing up to. I'll be honest. I looked actually for October, November. I spent about $500 each month. October, November. Pretty much most of it would have been through shards. Yeah, for doing like shard videos and stuff. Which, by the way, is way less than I spent when I used to work in London on my monthly train ticket, let alone all the other stuff I used to have for expenses for a job. So I'm in a slightly different vibe from you guys, or for most of you guys, in that, you know, this is actually a job. But still, that's a reasonable expenditure, right? 500 a month. So I could not spend that 500 in December. Wouldn't make a difference to my account. So I'm not against the no dime December thing. Just want to make sure we know what we're trying to do. He then goes on to say, in the first video, he actually said, don't spend, don't do fusions, don't do events, don't summon. And at which point you're like, are we even still playing the game? Do you want to play the game? Like, he goes on in the second video to say that scrap that, actually just don't spend. And the only real call out that I got from the videos was that he wants more fun events. Okay, so that's like wrapping up where we are with the 2 Jgigs videos. And I would say that, you know, this whole new content drop, they're kind of teasing it out right now. Like, that feels exciting to me because it's new stuff. And I see in the comments, yeah, but still it's pay to win. We don't know what it is yet. We don't know what it is, but it feels like there's a big content drop coming, which before kind of like the Jgigs thing, I would have thought that's what we're after. But then when I see the comments, it's like, well, it doesn't seem to reign true with what we're after. So that led me to ask the question, like, what do we want? What do we want here to actually enjoy Raid again? Yeah, what's the difference? And as I say, we're going to go through the Aristocrat details in a minute and see what our no spend could do to them. But also, I wanted to just call out a really good post here from Cormath on a video I did the other day, which was like the first ever mythical enhanced chance from Primal Shards, yeah? So I said in that video, I don't know what we're striving for. Yeah, and actually, the cool thing with this post from Cormath is it does echo a ton of the stuff that I 100% agree with. So, you know, if we're then saying, right, this would be a win for the Raid community, these are the type of things which I would 100% get behind as a movement, yeah? No spending for no reason doesn't make sense in my head, but no spending because we want X, Y, Z changes makes a lot of sense. So Cormath says, the tavern is still abysmal. I agree. I've played other games now in this genre. Raid is miles behind in quality of life in the tavern, in the speed it takes to do stuff, to level up champions, all that type of stuff. Raid is a mile behind. Raid, you could go and look at Eternal Evolution, Watcher of Realms, probably Dragonair, I'm not sure actually. But there's a bunch now that are out there that do that piece tons better. You can learn from them and you could just massively update, okay, easily. Goes on to say the market's still abysmal. Again, you can look at how other games do it. Other games now are doing this really well. They are scaling the marketplace with your accounts. Yeah, if your account is a level 100, you no longer see Vigilante in the market. You no longer see the Chemist. Yeah, literally the only reason to go into this marketplace right now is to hope there's an Ancient Shard in there. And we know they're capped at 5 a month. So once you've done them, it's basically pointless to be in the marketplace. So I agree, Cormath. Good point. Tag Team Arena, still abysmal. Totally agree. And probably it's got worse because there's more and more teams that are just absolute crazy teams to face. The fights are longer and longer. The only way to play the game with any enjoyment is to set your defenses like this and just get free wins all week. And then at the end of the week, hope that you've done it in enough time to stay in your level. Yeah, so I agree. Tag Team Arena is really boring and it's really poor and it takes a long time. Time is definitely something which I've seen in my comments a lot. How much time do you want us to spend on this game raid? They've done the quality of life change on Clan Boss. I guess it's not for everyone. It works nicely for me because I can one key. It's not for everyone. It should be for everyone. There's a whole bunch of stuff where we've called out quality of life time changes. Tag Team Arena would be 1. 5 tokens, but double the reward. Super easy to do. Yeah, Doom Tower, once you've beaten it once for the day, just let us auto all keys in one go. I've spoken about these things before. Faction Wars, you know, once you've proven you can do it today, all keys go in one go. Like, they have put improvements in, but I do agree, time in Raid is long. Like, it is long, and it's especially punishing, I'd say, more so now than ever when there's a fusion on, because they've made fusions harder and harder to do and absorb more of your time. So That's definitely something that I don't know if core math calls this out, but it's definitely something which comes through to me loud and clear. And again, like if we had a quality of life patch that fixed even those three things and a time constraint in raid, then I would say that's a win. Yeah, that feels like that's already. So you don't want to put too many things in the what do we want type of bucket, otherwise you'll get nothing, right? So for me, that would already be a worthwhile movement, I guess. The Bazaar is abysmal. Couldn't agree more. Core math. Again, these are all things I've called out before. The Bazaar is absolute arse and hasn't changed since the day it came in, even though we were promised that things would change. Hasn't changed one iota since it came in, perhaps with the exception of maybe one thing being added. Well, I don't even know if one thing's been added, but it's boring. It's useless. Once you've got Drexar, there's probably very little reason to be in there. So, yeah, I agree. Token Trader, complete waste of space. Totally agree again, core math. He then goes on. Like, I'm not going to... Should I go through it all? I'll go through a couple other bits. Daily logins, mostly abysmal. Don't know if I agree with that, really. I think daily logins are actually not too bad. They've got worse over time, which makes them feel abysmal, but I don't know if they're that bad, really. No friends list. Clan quests need some slight rebalancing, okay. Clan shop prices need rebalancing, okay. Don't have too much of a problem with that myself. Minotaur, absolutely miserable. I do agree with that. That could be a really good time saver in Minotaur, activating. Maybe it's simple things like, it comes back to spending, honestly, but you know, if you had the raid card, which it looks like I have. I don't know why I've got that. I don't remember ever buying that. Unless it buys it auto and I'm doing it without realizing it. Weird. Anyway, like maybe if you buy the raid card, it actually does. This is something that Watcher of Realms does, honestly. But you know, it gives you additional multi battles. It gives you like the chance to go ×4 speed or something. I don't know, but definitely Minotaur just needs like the equivalent of super raids and some anyway. It's a really boring bit of content to do over and over, and new players need to do it a lot. That's the worst thing. You must be losing a lot of your new players with how boring Minotaur is. Maybe it even just needs to go up to level 20 with way more what you call it, coming out, the scrolls, right? So yeah, this is definitely something which needs to improve. Pulls out Hydra and Hydra Clash. Pulls out Doom Tower. Almost been out for 3 years. I think Doom Tower is still good content, honestly. I appreciate if you played the game for a long time like me, you can probably just do it now, or like most rotations you can do, or they feel more boring. But I can't call out Doom Tower being poor content, personally. Just give the vault space for free. Don't charge for it. I get it. Anyway, it was a really, really good post here from Core Math. And you know, these are the type of things that I think if you want to get behind a movement, then we need goals. Because to just say, you know, the prices are high, the game's not in a good state, it's like, fine. But what's going to change that? Because this new content piece isn't doing it for people. Like, and I don't know why, honestly, because the new content piece, for me, I'm excited about it. I feel like that's actually something that I can get behind and something that I've been wanting. I'm feeling like Raid's a bit stale. Mythical wasn't it for me. The Shogun wasn't it for me. Didn't enjoy it. Don't enjoy it. So, you know, Iron Twins, it's very endgame, which you need endgame stuff, but I don't like the way the endgame stuff has been put in, so that it's basically a champion ticker rather than a skill kind of like qualifier. Same sort of thing with Sand Devil. So a lot of the new stuff for me just hasn't landed well, rather than, you know, they're not trying. So then it comes down to, okay, time in game, all that sort of stuff. I agree. Let's have a look then at, well, let's talk about a couple of things. So Jgigs called out there that, you know, let's say there's 100,000 YouTube watchers. And I think there's probably about that. I think on a daily basis, something like 100K. Most of my videos get about 30K. There's loads of other creators that would get views that I don't get. And yeah, I could see there being 100,000 people per day viewing raid content. Of those, I would say there's probably 50% that are decent spenders, maybe, or spenders. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit higher because it is the YouTube population. But my commentary makes me think it's about 50% of people are actually already free to play. So probably half those people, 50,000 people, could not spend for December. And there might be some whales and krakens in there, potentially. I'm not sure. that would spend more. There is some interesting stuff in this document. I'm going to go through it now, but I just want to call out one metric that we can absolutely understand, which is on average, players spend 93 cents per day. That's fact. Okay. It might not be necessarily fact for Raid Shadow Legends. I don't get that level of detail, but it is fact that players spend on average through Pixel United's games 93 cents a day. So if we get my trusty calculator out, I haven't even worked this through yet. Let's say that 50,000 players, we'd call it $1 for easy math. So it's gonna be $50,000 a day. So we're gonna hit PLARIUM's pocket if everyone did it for 1.5 million. Now, obviously, everyone will not do it. So let's say half the player base do that. Half the viewers that think they're in the movement actually follow through with the movement. Okay, 750K could be what we hit PLARIUM for as like you need to improve, right? This is where it gets a bit muddy for me because it's like, well, I don't think, and that's why I've not been like super for it. As I say, I could easily do it. I might do it. Might just do it. I just don't feel like people will follow through with it, right? And so if it's way less than the 50%, it might end up being that it's 300 or 400K. Still a lot of money, right? Still a lot of money. But anyway, that's what. So I feel like let's understand what we want. Let's understand what it's going to do if we actually followed through, and then let's get a bit of a better picture of what's going on in this company. So I guess the first understanding, this is Aristocrat's like annual statement. This is November 2023. It's going out to the investors. Yeah, these are people that they actually care about. These are people that they care about for their income. I'll get us to a chart that makes some better sense just to go through with some detail. So Aristocrat as a company pulled in $6 billion, which was 30% better than what they did in 2022. So 2023 versus 22, up 13%, and their EBIT, which is basically their profit line, was up about the same, just over 13%. So they actually made a better profit margin, but still made, honestly, a colossal amount of cash. And that flows through. So they, as a company, as Aristocrat, overall company, they are really pleased with those results, I'd imagine. Some of that might come through, honestly, acquisition. Some of their revenue growth might be acquisition. I haven't gone through in full detail, but shareholders will be happy with this. Dividend per share is up. So any shareholder that's got, any shareholder will get an improved dividend to what they had before. And therefore, there's no like big cry of Aristocrat, you are failing as a company. Okay, that's the first like fundamental that you should look for. Interestingly, though, when you start to look at where the profit's coming from, like year on year, Pixel United, which is the gaming kind of, or one of their gaming sections, was actually one of their poorest performers year on year. Not saying it's a poor performer, but year on year compared to the other stuff, it's done worse. Okay, so that's definitely an area where Aristocrat would be like honed in on. You are not doing as well as the rest of our companies. Remember what I said, like you got this kind of top line business target. That's what corporates will do. You'll then go down to the individual kind of like head of CEOs of each business. They've got their own targets. Yeah. And then beneath them, all of their teams have got targets. Okay. That's the way these things work. So great. Aristocrat are very happy, but there'll now be a bit of a push on Pixel United. You need to up your game. That's already happening before any of this narrative, before any of the kind of stuff we're talking about. Okay. It then goes in cash flow. We'll squeeze past that one, get past this one, and go to this one. So this is one we really care about. Pixel United, right? So Pixel United, increasing market share while responding to structural changes in stabilizing mobile gaming market. So what they're saying here is they had a downturn in revenue and a downturn in profit, and they have some call outs. So revenue's lower due to the decline in mobile game market and exiting Russia. So they've got some reasoning behind their revenue drop. Generally, the market is down, and they also decided not to worked with Russia because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, all that type of stuff, right? So, which makes complete sense. Like, yeah, it would be, yeah, anyway, not to get into the politics side of stuff. Any other kind of like big call outs here? They had a focus on daily active user and daily active user quality. Well, no, not a focus on daily active user. So daily active user actually was down quite significantly. Like, you know, we're talking like a 20-odd%, 25% drop in players across their games. That's a lot. That's a real concern. Okay, and this kind of like falls in line with what we're seeing in Raid. Less players, but what they've done to try and make sure that they still tick the box on their kind of like targets they've been set is, well, we've been able to achieve an upturn in spend of 13% from our current player base. Yeah, and that's where we get this 93 cent. They say here they're number one in the slots market with 21% share, and they're number one in the squad RPG market, which is Raid Shadow Legends. Okay, but this is definitely an interesting turn. This is a concerning turn for the game, though. I've got to be honest. Like, if you're dropping, and this is not just Raid, this is all of their games, but if you're dropping this significantly 2022 into 23 in players, that's a big concern. Okay, and I said, like, you've got various levers to pull. How do we get more players in? How do we make more profit? And I would imagine that this kind of like reduction or increase in spend per player, it's kind of like in-game promotions and stuff. Lack of daily active players is probably a reduction in marketing spend. Okay, we've probably seen like less stuff going on with Raid. Hopefully, you know, the new content actually drives older players back if it's interesting, and they'll do like a marketing push as well if you still want to play the game. Like, that's what you'd hope for. Okay, let's keep going down. So it says here, Pixel United resilient portfolio performance. So you can see the mobile gaming market as a whole on the left, and then Pixel United on the right. So that the overall market in mobile gaming since like the end of pandemic and people starting going back to work, we had this kind of like massive years of growth. And then in the last 2 years, we've seen in the mobile gaming, 2022 dropped by 6, 2023 dropped by 5. Okay. And what Pixel United have done in that same time is basically beat the curve. Yeah, they're beating the market, albeit we saw in their performance, that's probably still not good enough from Aristocrat's point of view. But they were flat with the market in its heights, yeah, in terms of growth. They didn't lose any of their share, or they grew their share. They didn't go down with the market in 2022. And then they beat the market in 2023 by 1%. Not by a lot, but by 1%. All of those messages, by the way, are very positive for this company. Like, they're all things that you would draw out as a positive if you were the CEO, okay? Like, I can't control the overall market. I can control what my business is doing, and we're doing better than the average, is the kind of, the type of vibe they would be bringing to the meeting, right? Let's see anything here. I think so. Kind of go down to the appendices. So there's some interesting stuff in the appendices that I'd seen as well. Yeah, this page here. So I showed it right at the start. So as I said earlier, 93 cents per user. Raid Shadow Legends still nets 417 million. And you can see in terms of the share of Pixel United, RPG and strategy, which is not just Raid, but it's a third of Pixel United's business. The casino stuff is 50%, over 50% of Pixel United's business. And you can actually see in this next graph what it looks like. But Raid Shadow Legends is still the largest bookings by game of any of Pixel United's like products. It's still their mass, like, and by some way, it's still their biggest. It's 25% of their business. Yeah, it's 25% of their 1.7 billion income. So it's still a massive, massive, important part of Pixel United, and obviously it's still going to be important to, it's going to be important to Aristocrat as well. So of the 417 million that they booked in year, this is where I kind of feel like just a no spend thing. Is it going to make a difference? I don't know, honestly. I don't know. But, you know, if we hit them for 700K, I wonder if they would even see it. I do. I wonder if they would even see it. In an isolated month, it's probably a concern. Over the balance of longer time, I don't think they'd see it. They'd see it as a bit of a blip. What went wrong in December? Not really sure. Unless they are really tuned in with what we're doing. Which then feels like, well, if you don't do it for at least 6 months, you're not making an impact. Are people going to stay true to this type of thing for 6 months? I just don't think so. So this is where I'm struggling with this whole movement, honestly. Like, I like the vibe of it. I like the idea of it, but I'm struggling with what the action generates and where do we see it as a win and will it make an actual impact? Anyway, really interesting to deep dive into some of this stuff. I like doing this anyway. Hopefully you found it interesting as well. But yeah, I guess comment below. How are you feeling about it? I will say a couple of last things that I want to just talk about, right? So unfortunately, what tends to happen is you get these kind of like spirals. You get spiral of upturn or spiral of downturn in businesses. So if a business is growing, then what tends to happen is you get this spiral upturn of innovation, of recruitment, of I guess enhancing products, all those things. Like you get this spiral because it's like we've got more cash, we've got more profit, therefore we can actually experiment. If you're in a downturn spiral, it goes the other way, and it goes the other way quite quickly, I think, in terms of actually we probably don't do what we want it to do. Like if we made a major, we won't, by the way, we don't have enough impact in my opinion, but if we made a major impact to Raid Shadow Legends in terms of their bottom line, and we made this kind of like downturn spiral happen, actually what happens is you start to just cut costs, because cutting costs is the quickest way to regain profit, right? So trying to innovate new products or new development of a product is not the quickest way to make more profit. The quickest way is actually, I need to cut heads. Yeah, I need to cut 20% of my heads in this month. That's the brutal reality of business, right? I've been in it. I've had to do it. I hated it. I hated the movement in my previous business. I actually thought it was completely the wrong thing to do. But you've got these pressures from above, from your kind of like senior business saying, you've committed to this, you're miles off the mark. What are you going to do? Yeah, and that's a fact. So developers' heads would go, artists' heads would go way quicker than all of these new improvements would happen. That's my view. Okay, and I've seen it. So that's something to kind of bear in mind. So I don't know if the movement even ever does what we want it to do, even though I know that's the only thing we can do to make any sort of difference. Which makes me just, I struggle with it. I struggle with it because I've seen this type of stuff. Not what we're doing. I've seen the type of reaction to downturns in business, and it's not pretty actually. And I wouldn't want for the Raid guys to lose their jobs. Honestly, that's the way I look at it. It's like these people are not the PLARIUM greed or the Pixel United greed or even the Aristocrat greed. These people are just me and you that have got a job, and they want to keep their job. That's it. So I don't know, guys. It's a real tough one, but a real interesting one to debate. Yeah, I'd love to know what you would want as your outcome from doing a no dime December, and your view kind of on this kind of like picture that I've tried to paint out or lay out in this video. Anyway, I've been Hell Hades. Enjoy your day. I'll see you soon.